I can't, or maybe you won't. Let's see. You'll see. What's up, everybody? We are about to do some streaming. I'm gonna yell at my guy over here playing some ukulele in the background. Yeah, you're out of here. Get out of here. All right, so do a little market analysis. We had this show up last time. We were looking more towards the retrace to like probably the 25s on Bitcoin, 22s possibly. We held really well from the 25 BPS hike last week, which I thought was pretty good. Um, and we did see some retracement on the stock market as a whole. We saw some more companies fail. We had Evergrande from the Chinese companies fail. The large company products. I'm sorry, production of housing and property management and all these, very big reaching arms, very large company cratered. So we are seeing some large over leveraged companies starting to fail. We've already seen Credit Suisse. We've already seen 4 or 5 other banks in America as well. We saw some in Germany. So I do think these play in a factor when we are talking about the price of Bitcoin because it was created as a hedge, and I do think it will finally, show up as this. We also saw some reasons we dropped today. We're battling the 27K battle right now with Bitcoin. Was Binance was sued. Let's see, 20 minutes ago was announced, or not like sometime this day. Big news. Binance is one of the largest providers. Of crypto assets around the world. They are, they however you feel about Binance, I tend to think they are one of the better ones just because they don't do risky stuff. They've been around for a very long time. So them and Coinbase have always had my business. So it is a huge thing. And it's not the SEC, it's the CFTC that's suing them. So they are um also calling Ethereum as a commodity in their lawsuit, which we saw recently with Ethereum being called a commodity and I'm sorry, at a security by the SEC. So they're kind of the watchdogs are battling for who wants oversight over these large, things because guess what? They probably get more funding if they win, right? So, um, yeah, I think this will, continue to, like I said, this is the first stop. If we don't stop there, we kind of had this kind of play out where it kind of dips down and then humps back up. Or if we, this is like the fork in the road here. If we're going to go lower, if we break through that 25 with a little bit of volume, we'll get it going down into here. We are, I've been saying this since we started. We are above that blue line here. I think we could see a good little bounce here. Let's go down the 4 hour just to see what it looks like on the 4 hour here. We'll reset. Yep, we're hovering above. It's coming down, pinch and bounce. We saw this on the last pinch here. Let's see what we get here. Most likely it's going to break through, and then we want it to pinch on the blue for a lot more support. So if you're doing these bouncing here are not as strong as all three of these bouncing together on the blue here for the RSI. So we are in slightly overbought territory on the 4 hour, but very minimal. If we look back on previous, big dips or big drops on price, we're looking at like upwards up here, 59 or 62, or, pretty much a little bit higher on here. We see the previous sell offs, a lot more oversold or overbought, so, we're still below that kind of like cutoff to where I'd be like, oh shit, we're dying here. So, we have getting a little bit of a rounding base. We have getting some. That's why I think we're going to go trending down. That's why on the 4 hour, look, because that's the average price, 25. So I do think we'll probably be seeing that, um, very shortly. We've been talking about it for the last 2 weeks or so. I think week or so at least. Yeah, 1 week because the previous week we missed. So yeah, 1 week ago we were talking about that. Weekly, let's check it out. Bitcoin weekly. Uh, Not as much data on the weekly for my RSI charting. I usually stick with the daily on these. It did hit the 50 here, and these were good buy points, 50s, and that was in November, and then we kind of bounced off that 50 RSI. Uh, on the weekly, let's look at a little bit brighter. We hit the top, we went all the way down to the bottom here, so now we're back at the average price here. This is a good indicator that we're probably at the fair value of a Bitcoin currently. This is the weekly average. And I would say this is something, again, this is a large green weekly candle. We had last week be pretty much like a with a doji candle, but that would be not after a dip. So this could be like a short call. Um, I That's what I see to me. What are you thinking? Because it looks to me to be big move down all the way through. Obviously we've seen this a long time, but now we've actually started seeing some green candles. And when you start to get some, if you look from the trend here, large, big, yeah, you see large, big red candles, all little tiny green candles to fight them off. Very, the dominance one is here. Another big green solid, I'm sorry, red solid candle here. So now we're starting to get some big green, large candles with small red candles in the weeklies, which looks good to me. That's why I think we'll get that slight retracement and then kind of continue upwards. And it's either the 25 and up or the 22, 23 and up is what I'm picturing for me personally. Again, like um I'm not a huge Fibonacci fan for the reason that literally everyone just like, yo, you guys use Fibonacci's? Like, I see the value in it sometimes, but again, if I think my thought process is if everybody's using the same indicators, then guess what? They're going to derive same answer, right? So I actually have a custom Fibonacci I can show you guys. A little bit different. It's a yeah, it's a different yeah, it's a little bit different. For me, I try to picture it. So the whole point of the Fibonacci is it's based off the golden rule, which is 7 divided by 22, and it has a repeating pattern that everyone and it plays into a lot of psychological things and the deal with everyone having the similar ratios. So I'm gonna show you this one. I have a little bit different. It's more of like a quadrant type thing. Um, so this is one full range, and it's very. Let me clear up some of this stuff because it's a little really convoluted here. See if I get rid of this. All right, so let me get rid of all these because we'll draw them again some other time. Um, yeah, it's just another tool to kind of see what's going on here. Um, This is from the top to the bottom. Again, this is a weekly. So these are the these are my price predictions. I haven't even drawn this, on this ever before, or not. No, not a long time because I haven't been using this much. But this was one that was again helped developed by the my friend, who was a longtime stockbroker. He's the one that helped me make all these indicators and stuff like that. So I do think this is something that is pretty interesting. But yeah. So we're at the resistance point of that first one. I didn't just draw to draw here to here. Didn't ever you know mess with anything, but he does it in 25% quadrants. Okay, so a different approach. And the reason he said to do that is because what usually happens is when you go to this 61.8% retracement and the point 0.5 and the point 323%, stuff like that. Those Fibonacci points is what everyone uses, and then when they see what actually happens generally is you get like a little wick below because people are hunting for liquidity. So this is a 75, 50, 25, and 100%. So, it's a
Yeah,
little bit skewed because
and
it's logarithmic right now. But you can see what this is how he has it functioning. Um,
I think
so
my
this is
VPN was blocking. Sorry about that, guys.
ooh, let me switch off on the Discord because I'm double.
Yep, yep, there we go. We're all good now.
There we go. Mr. Late to the party all the time over here. All
Hey
right.
man, I
So
was early. My VPN was blocking me out of Restream, I guess. That was the problem.
yeah, get the old. But so again, like what he has shown me and why he uses this is because he likes to compare everything to bell curves, and that's what we usually talk about. And we've talked about that previously with the other indicator here. So we use this one here. Also, these are the reason the lines are very similarly colored as well is because they kind of relate to each other. So how he has done it, it's not really good for the daily. Let's go down to like the 4 hour or something like that. We'll try it again. Draw up. All right, let's get rid of this one. Let's just reset and let's get rid of this Fibonacci and redraw a better one. All right, so top to bottom of the previous move, we had huge breakout 100%. Once we cross this 100%, this is like another new section. So we see that we get up to the 75% of this one. Now we're getting down to the 25% retracement here. I still think we'll hit here. That's why I had like that 25-ish marked right here. And then again, this is like the 50% retracement of the full here. So again, this is a little bit different than people are used to, but it kind of turns it into that same thing I draw with like, you can already see it here, right? If I actually, let me just zoom in a little bit more. I don't want auto on. That's what keeps happening here. All right. So you can kind of see it happening here. This falls in a window. This falls in a window. It all falls in these kind of like tightly bound windows. Get the fill here. Now we're filling up through here. If you do a larger, we can do this one too. Generally, we'll see that the price action will probably correlate pretty well with the others as well. So here's a drop that was from November. That was, again, we see these like fill, all this is getting filled. Price action here. So again, it's more like along the lines of those how I just pick support and resistance spots and draw them, at the very beginning. That's the first episode. If you missed that one, kind of go back to those. We have them all posted in the Ninja Alerts Discord. You can go back and see all the videos here. But essentially what we're looking at is how I just go back on the charts and large, you look at these. Like here was the resistance, point. That one stopped everybody out. Here is a multiple support point. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 touches support resistance there. We got, so these are just pivotal points on the chart price action. And this kind of almost does the exact same thing. So you're following these ranges. So if you hit like a bottom of a range and it goes up through, you want to, again, like you see it pass through, bam, now we're in a new range. And when it breaks these white lines, it usually shows like momentum's happening here. Breakthrough, quick recovery. Now we're up here, probably going to fall back down. That's why I think, again, these 2 points are pivotal. You know, any thoughts? I don't even know if I can get the like classic Fibonacci on here.
Yeah, my other thought is just looking at the chart and like the 4 hour, the daily, it kind of looks like, we have almost a new support line kind of forming as we crab here at these levels that, you can
Yeah,
kind of, if we don't go under like 26K, we're going to
we've
be
hit. Yeah,
okay for
you're pretty
now.
much saying like we've hit this spot like 3 times and we've kind of rejected on the daily, pretty much.
Yep,
And this was a
and
previous look. That's a
it was the
previous support there.
yeah,
I
well,
still think we're gonna go through it
previous
personally, but
rejection too, if you look
yeah,
under,
yeah, exactly. Here
so that
rejected
that
off, then
what
came up
I
support. My
I look
personal
at
opinion is every time they hit this line is the weaker it gets, personally. We did say it was either gonna go this direction or this direction. We don't know which one yet. Um,
you
I
think it
s
makes it weaker by hitting and bouncing off? Or does that mean that, because I kind of see it as like the more time it touches and goes back up is like the more times that, it confirms that there's a little bit of support there, especially when it's like the old resistance, because resistance turns into support. And then it also, it works the opposite
yeah.
way too.
I mean, just this is I mean, like, this is what I personally, I don't think this has any support because one giant green candle, constant, it's touched this multiple times, and we do kind of push it back up. Uh, again, I think this doesn't show me support until I think this white and blue and orange are touching together. That's when you can find like a support. I think it would be more if it was me, I would be like this would probably be more of support than
Maybe like
previous.
25, yeah.
Yeah,
Like
that's
that
why.
that
Yeah,
looks a
that's
lot
that.
better if you move your
Yeah,
green
so
bar just like up and to the right a little bit, right?
like here, you're saying
Yeah, somewhere in between there.
like this was actually touched a bunch here, and then we come back down. This also, I mean, there was if we go back through the price action that we're currently at, look at this. This is what we're currently at. We've like literally never even traded in this section. Do you see this?
Yeah, what do our channels look like there on?
Yeah. So I mean, let's look at the price, fixed price volume. I mean, let's start at a normal. Start at the 2020 beginning of the bull. I
Yeah,
mean,
there's a
it's
little bit of
literally in like these, smallest out of every single other trading point. So to me, that's just not a bad thing because
it's kind of good,
you're
right?
filling
Yeah.
in the volume that needs to be support to go larger. Again, I'd still like this. Nothing. There's no support like here at all. Like we're in no man's land. Like this literally has never been like traded at all. I mean, that's literally like the tiniest bar ever. Right.
But
So
with all this new money printing coming into the system,
yeah,
that might give a little more reason for, to fill that channel out.
yeah. I mean, I mean, there's definitely again, it's all like this is all pretty much just like, you get a slight edge on somebody else. It's not like this, this is the end all be all, I'm wrong all the time. You just have to, the trick is capital management and, knowing when you're wrong, when to quit. Right. But yeah, I mean, to me, I would say even here has pretty low support, and that's the like 23, right? So 23 through 25, 24.8 is that window, and then 24.8 through 26, right? So neither of those have like a lot of support at all. This line right here, 23 has the most volume support. So I definitely see we could, again, we could probably just break through this pretty easily. Um, yeah. And, I agree with you. You're saying there's money printing going on. Um, and, it's something where it's the same. The problem with that is the money printing is not for the average person. So one of the reasons that I personally think it went so parabolic was it was like retail was given, 1,300 bucks, 1,400 bucks, and 600 bucks. So they had a little bit of money. Now it's just like it's only banks getting money. We saw what happened to that in 2008. It was just the depression slash a little bit of a recession. Maybe not a full depression, but recession hit. Again, and the macro does not look good. Again, we raised rates 0.25. It's now 5% to loan, from the central bank to a private bank. So they are still highly underwater. There's 186 people that 186 banks that fit the profile of SVB or Silvergate, anything like those with the over leverage, not enough support, a lot of treasury bonds that are underwater. So there's definitely some issues going on. And I think again, I think for the long term and the midterm, these are huge things, and I think they're a huge benefit. But we still haven't felt like the short term of that. I think personally, where we just had this massive run up, from 16,000 to 28,000, and practically like what, not even 2 weeks. I mean, what was the
Yeah,
last time I hit the? It was 18 on
beginning of
March
March.
9th.
Yeah.
March 9th. So literally 18 days ago. And now we're up 10 grand. I think that's gonna be I think it's just that's a little too much personally. And again, things kind of flow back down. Um,
Does does it give you any confidence or maybe like looking at the banks if they were to start hedging with crypto, like if they take some of that money
yeah, that
and
would
they
be that would
buy
be
crypto
monstrous.
with
If
it?
yeah, yeah, I definitely that would be huge. We haven't seen anything really do that yet. Um, the first announcement of one large institution buying crypto as a hedge, I personally think it's over. And I think we've talked about this before. It's kind of like maybe not on this, but like on our non-financial advice or one of other spaces that we do. It's that like slowly, 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 then all at once kind of mentality is how I think the eventual like Bitcoin adoption curve looks to me. It's the you guys are crazy. These are risky assets. These are they're tech stocks. They go down violently and go up violently. It's not something you should be putting large amounts of money in. And then all of a sudden, people actually realize that the entire system is practically fraud, and they're like, "Well, shit, like that isn't good, right?" So we
Yeah, that's
definitely
not
see,
working.
yeah, that's not working. Um, and then it's just going to be like a huge wave of large adoption, and I think we're still in that early adoption curve phase of the tech and early adopt. The people, the tech enjoyers, and the early adopters, early investors stage. I still think we're a couple years away from like larger adoption. But yeah, I mean, if it only takes a it takes a very small amount of money to actually move the Bitcoin and Ethereum and any crypto token, real essentially, because the entirety of everything, every coin, everything is like practically $1 trillion, which is equivalent to like one large US company, or the top 3 companies in the US. So pretty small, especially for something that is global and is replacing an entire system. These aren't companies, these are commodities similar to gold, or similar to like the internet itself, where the use case of these things is astronomical compared to like a singular company. So, I definitely think there's a large, again, we always talk about this. It's like large, large, long term movements. I do think we're very early. DCA is the way to go always, personally. And then, if you are trading and like doing what I'm doing, again, I think personally, where my thought here is massive leg up, met resistance a couple of times. We've keep bouncing on this number. If we don't, I mean, it's also hitting this number and getting lower volume. So I do think we'll break this into that 25 most likely, or 23 ish, depending on how far we go. But again, these are a little bit over here. Want these see resistance. So I think a short setup here through these numbers would be play out pretty well.
Yeah, I'm sure you also tuned into the FOMC meeting last week. What were kind of like your takeaways from that? I know they raised 25 bips and
I actually wasn't able to watch it. I was on vacation. I did. I mean, I
oh,
caught the highlights. Obviously we still have a solid job market. Unemployment still good. 25 EPS. We still have really sticky inflation. It's still hovering at that like 6.2 range year over year. And everything he ever says is we need to get back to 2%. We need to get back to 2%. So, uh, I personally think that we should have seen something Like, I'd rather get this shit over with, to be honest. Like, just get the, whipsaw it, whatever. We can handle it. Again, like he said, like the job market is holding fairly firm. Um,
I mean, he said
and
that the banks were fine though,
yeah, they're fine because they're just going to print a bunch of money out of thin air.
but that kind of disregards, his entire like
Yeah.
last 6 months of work that he's done.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, you just literally took 5 minutes to to undo everything we've done. Again, like he's signaling that it's. I think it should have been a 5 if you actually want a 50 BPS hike if you wanted to
Oh, I
actually
agree.
work and do something because that's what it's been doing. But a 25 is something that he's pretty much like, laying over. It's a little bit more dovish, but I still, again, I think we still haven't, once, and actually, if you look historically at when he, just historically, when the actual pivot happens, is actually when we start seeing the actual drops in prices. So people get this, it's gonna stop, it's gonna stop, it's gonna stop. He's kind of getting a little weaker. It's getting a little weaker, and then now we actually see the lower numbers or the zeros or the 25s and the zeros. Um, is actually when like the other shoe falls and we see like a big like capitulation event in the stock market. So again, I still think this will be correlated with the stock market in that short term. But on the next dip, personally, I will be loading up again. So, um, and that's the kind of thing is you know dips previously were just like shorts here, and I was mostly shorting, collecting more kind of like spot ETH and spot Bitcoin at lower prices. Now I think we can do like leverage recoveries for me personally because now that we have the short game, I do think we're going to be continuing upwards in price over the next little bit. But I do want to see some just a little bit of bounce. Again, like this was a massive leg up. We were, here's the average price. We're a little bit above that right now, so I think that's a good number to look for. Let's look at some
Yeah.
ETH. ETH, we had a similar. I had drawn a similar thing from last time. We have not really gotten there yet. This is, it's this was our target from the two or what was that 3 weeks ago that we kind of came into. We kind of saw that fall through. And then now we're getting this. I think, I still think 2000s that's play, but I want to see some retracement first. ETH has not gone up as much as Bitcoin itself. Bitcoin has been that dominant one. Bitcoin dominance is very high. We've seen what happens previously is we hit these like high 40s and then see what happens pretty much every time. Like 540, bam, high 40, bam, high 40s, bam. So, it's happens quite often. We're hitting that high 40 and it's usually that huge, they're always quick. Like this is like what, September, it's a couple months. Like September through January, an entire, went up very high and then all the way back down to 40s. So this is not a good one to have this one viewed, but you can kind of, see their patterns over and over and over, starting from that early May, high 40s, high 40s, high 40s. So we're getting back up there. We get a little bit more push on the dominance. Again, overall, I thought we were gonna see a little bit more like Bitcoin dominance. So maybe this is the last leg of it, kind of bounce in and kind of come up through. Maybe looking at like, let's see here. Yeah, something around like this area probably looks to be in play here. This is a previous long time ago hit. Pretty much what's happening here. We've already seen it kind of retrace back in, but I think these are, this area is a good if you're following the Bitcoin and ETH ratio. I think that's a good one to get. We'll leave that for next week. See what happens. But let's look at some alts. Anything else you want to see?
I mean, I would. You want to take a peek at the dollar? See, I want to kind of see
Yeah,
what your thoughts
DXY.
are
Let's
on the
check that.
dollar.
It's pretty similar to last week. We had this. I still think this was like a dead cat bounce. We're going down. We had this massive run up. This looks, one, two, three huge spikes. We hit the $1.14. Now we're going down. On the dollar side, what's happened, right? Let's see. China, Russia are making trade deals. What was the one today? It was
Saudi Arabia,
Aramco, Saudi Arabia, and China are making deals to produce, what was it, 600,000 barrels per day, I believe, through two different deals. One was like for 350, and the other one was for like, yeah, 300 or like 250 barrels, 1,000 a day or whatever. So, insane amount of barrels. So, that literally, you know, they're making massive, massive moves. This is, again, I think this whole warfare this time has been a lot more like subterfuge slash trade war type stuff. And China has definitely set themselves up very well on this aspect, right? They've bought a lot of ports, a lot of or like and built a lot of infrastructure globally, and had like Kenya indebted to them through building their ports, building stuff for them. They've had a lot of stuff in South America, so they're definitely beefing up their trade region, trade agreements, and trade routes, trying to pretty much break down the dollar. So again, I don't think that it will hold very well, especially with all the stuff that's been going on. Just with again, there's so many things against the dollar right now. It's the banks are rough. Their fractional reserve is showing it's pretty weak and high interest environments, just due to people being scared, and kind of, we kind of see the bank runs that have been happening, bank collapses and failures because of this. Trade deals with Russia and China, stuff that we've just mentioned. I think these all show a weaker dollar. Um, let's look at it real quick. We got kind of like a little bit of this the daily. Let's look at the 4 hour just to see if we got any more diversions coming through. Uh, this was a low. This is a 1-0. What's this back in? We'll kind of see how this holds up. Kind of move back up in here, but again, I think this was said a very similar structure when we looked at like stuff like Bitcoin. It came all in, didn't break through, and reversed. So I would say it looked not great. If we look at like Bitcoin, this is exactly what happened. We had the 1, 2, 3 kind of knocked out, bam, and then we had that bounce back, and then bam. So, um, might be better on ETH. We had the big run up, big spike, and then had the dead cat bounce here, and then died. Right. So it looks pretty similar. Or was that DXY? Pretty similar structure. We had this massive leg up, and now we're getting that like
that looks like a head and shoulders almost on a long term.
where
Right at the
like forming here. You're saying like
at
inverse.
the well at the chart itself. You
Oh, we're talking
see,
about here.
yeah, we're kind of on the right shoulder, heading
Right
downwards.
head, shoulder again here, and then down. Yeah, we'll see what happens with the formation of that. But the breakout. If we looked at here, this is, I would say,
I mean, if we fall under that, 101, we're in some
this
trouble.
looks like this one was hit like a ton right there. I would say this looks like these are some points to watch.
For sure.
We're currently at like the exact top of a previous top, so right now. Top here, top here, top here. So this was 2017, 2020. So again, this is, this could be resistance support here. So we'll see. I still think, I think personally, this looks like it will be going down to me. But
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about, the big red and big green candles as looking at momentum, it definitely has. I mean, I'm looking at the weekly chart right now on my
let's see,
screen,
weekly,
and it's definitely got the bigger
big
red
red,
candles on it. Yeah.
big old red bad boy right here. This dominates the until we get a equal or greater green. Like this is like the trend. I would say. We got the negative move. Looks it looks worse on the weekly.
Yeah.
Because again, like we haven't even hit the
It
like
could just fall right
this is
through
that
there.
this is this massive move. If you look at it here on the weekly, it's like this is the trend line most likely until we cross into the 50. So bounce short. This is probably hit up here, then bounce short. Once it actually pinches is when you get like a big movement down. So yeah, crazy to be honest. This actually looks. That's the nice thing about really really long term assets is you get really nice.
All the data.
Yeah, a lot of data points. You know, bull run. And this is literally like
Smacked out.
this is 2008. Fucking bap bap dead, right? Um this is consolidation. We had an expansion in, here. Resistance this is 2020, right? I'm guessing. Looks pretty interesting to me. Back in the 80s. This was the last time we had like actual stagflation, which this is to be honest, this is kind of the more structure that I
I
would
mean,
say
we
that
might
we're
repeat
heading
that.
towards.
Yeah.
Then you know this would be this first leg right here, right? So I mean, let's just do like a bar graph. Let's just look. I bet I bet it looks. So this is an 8-year bar graph.
You're a magician.
Bam. Um. So I mean, we'll see though. I mean, I think again, if you look at this actually looks really similar too, right? We got
It does, yeah.
that first little dip, and then bap, 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 bap. But I think we're different forces here. This was like much different times. Um, Recently off. I mean, there's a lot of parallels here, to be honest. Recently off the gold standard, stagflation. We're about to switch to a CBDC in what 4 months.
You think so?
Yeah, that's when the first trial is, and I'm sure it'll go very well because guess what? It's a really big surveillance tool.
Absolutely. It's
Um,
just a control tool.
for sure. I mean, to be honest, this looks pretty nuts. So we'll see. We'll see how this kind of breaks down. If I was a betting man, I would say more down, but
Yeah.
um,
It's a lot of different times, different
yeah,
rules,
it's
basically.
already rejected here. This looks a lot different, but if we had the strength, this is what stagflation looks like versus stuff that we haven't had that extended extreme inflation since let's say this was a different horror story. This was like the .com burst. We didn't have nearly as much long-term inflation. It just like was not going away. Whereas this is something where it could possibly look like, right? So, because we are going that route, because guess what? They're printing more money, which means we're not taking care of that inflation as fast as we want, and it gets drawn out. But again, I think the global picture looks a lot different. It looks a lot bleaker for the U.S. dollar, just because there's so many competitors, right? Like now we have the ability for other countries are trying to create their own petrodollar, essentially, like China wants to be dominant here. And then Bitcoin is an option now. Um, Gold's always been an option here, though. I mean, things look a lot prettier than previous choices, or just more choices um, coming up. I think personally, but let's look at some shit coins. What do we got? Matic has always been one that we've looked at a couple times. Let's see how it looks.
Ranging.
Yeah. Rejection here. It's not good rejection here. Couldn't break through twice, so probably short. This is, I mean, at least 98 cents. If we break the 98, this is the next kind of gap.
So I don't think something we haven't really talked about before. What is your view on like USDC versus USDT?
I hate pretty much all stable coins. I don't really use stable coins very much. I am a man of volatility, man. I trade ETH and Bitcoin ratio a lot. And most of my pretty much everything I have is ETH and Bitcoin, and then some NFTs.
Well, maybe for people that like
Um,
or
I
projects that are
I had
holding.
always said I was always a big DAI fan. It's a little bit more decentralized because it is like a open protocol with Maker. They lost all of my faith when they chose or not chose, but they were directed by a court to reverse that hack through the Oasis hack. So Jump Street got like 200 million back from the staked ETH holders or whatever. Um, that's a huge slippery slope. I think that's going to be a cause of a huge problem personally. So also the DAI was heavily exposed to USDC. I think like 60 or 70% of the collateral they were using was the USDC. I've actually looked into liquidity. Let me see. Have you seen this one? LUSD.
This is the first time I'm hearing of it.
All right, we'll switch over there for a sec.
Liquidity.
So held up extremely well during all of this. It's just an over collateralized dollar. Using ETH as their base instead of having something like what you call it? What the hell was it called? The one that failed, UST Terra.
Terra
So
Luna, yeah.
under collateralized. This one's over collateralized, and there is the chain, the interest rates. It's just like we're not doing fractional reserves. We're not investing this shit. We just hold the money that we're saying we're holding. And you can see all the stuff in kind of real time and borrow against your ETH.
Where do they hold it?
And just the same way that we all hold all the, it's just like in banks and stuff like that.
Doesn't matter where these coins are holding in what banks, depending on what might happen.
I haven't done I'll do more research on it this week, but I've heard a lot of good things. And let's see here. Like I said, I'll do some more research. We'll talk about it next week. I haven't done a huge deep dive into it. I've just been looking at it more. I've heard a lot about it more.
Yeah, will you share that link?
Sure.
I appreciate it.
I'll put in the chat over here.
Boom.
Yeah, boy. But let's go back.
Just putting it on screen for anyone to watch and see.
Yeah.
As well. I can update that and put it in the descriptions.
Cool. But I've just heard a lot of good things about it. It held up really well during the USDC drop, and it's been holding up really well just overall. It's been a little while. Like I said, I'll do some more research on it coming up. But let's look at some stuff that we normally kind of just review because we've got like a couple minutes left. Blur. garbage.
Yeah, I don't think the farming's going to be going
Gonna
too
help it.
well.
Is that Lydia? Lydia? Yeah. Can you grab it from her?
All the farming is kind of dying down. You're seeing a lot of projects, including your true love doodles, kind of exploring new lows.
Yeah, for sure.
From a while back.
I mean, I've been a very open about that since they made their choices they made with flow and all that stuff. So
you got some cool socks though.
I did get some really cool socks. But yeah, I sold all that shit except for again, like I minted
shit.
them. Yeah, I was very pissed to be honest. Flow was an awful choice. No, they said there was non-custodial choices. There isn't. They lied. You can store it there, but you can't trade them. So really fun on that part. Thanks for making me put all my shit in practically a dead wallet I can't trade on Flow because they don't allow you to use non-custodial wallets. They just allow you to hold them on there. I guess I don't know what the fuck the point of that is. Yeah, but anyways, I called that pretty heavy. I was like, I'm selling all my extra doodles here, so I still have the one for me and my wife because we like to go to their events. I think they do a great job, and again, it's more of like if you are a fan or a super fan, that's what that's the person who they're targeting. I think they're going to suffer more. I think they'll definitely go under the 3 for sure. And same with Clone X, especially when ETH and Bitcoin are pumping. Like there's pretty much every NFT is going to be dying for a little bit until we see some stabilization on them. Look at stacks. We had that massive daily. Remember that like weird spike we got here? Wow. This is that second spike. Related.
I mean, it just looks like it's healthy. It's just kind of slowly creeping up now after that big run up.
Well, we'll see. I wouldn't say healthy. It looks like it needs a retracement, just like Bitcoin needs a retracement. Like these things massively went up and then, 77 and 50.
Well, healthier since that one fat green candle,
Yeah, this bad boy.
Just slapped it on
what
the
else
table.
have we been looking at? We looked at Curve, I think. That's the one I've been looking at too. Curve is
Tezos
similar.
Also.
We're getting closer to the Curve pinch resistance here. Like I think they'll probably get 77, something like that, kind of go back up. I think Curve is a very solid token with actual, there's a reason to hold that token. Your treasuries hold get a lot more money and want more yield. So I think that's pretty much it though. We look at this one had a little pump.
Any thoughts on
still below
ApeCoin too with
check it out.
What they have, their game coming up, maybe long term?
I did not get to do the second wave. I did the first wave. Again, I was on a little bit of vacation, so I did not.
Did you check out any videos? See some?
Yeah, I definitely saw it. Yeah, I watched. We had a bunch of people in our end streaming, playing stuff like that, so I got to watch it. But I didn't get to participate in this one. But let's see. Let's move this bad boy out to here. Well, that was so average trade price 4.8. I haven't done this one in a while, so let's see. Since the start, we had this massive run up. It's a 4 hour, so that's $6. Wow, that was definitely a topper there. This came through. Still recover there. I don't see anything good.
Just under the average.
Yeah. This one looks like it got hit a bunch. Kind of like pretty much where we are right now ish. And then I would say like this one looks pretty strong. That was a pretty big rejection in the 3s. This is something I would be looking at. Let's do the Let's try out the fib on this one since we were talking about fibs today. So bottom to the previous top. This is coming back down to the essentially the 0.25, which is I correlate to like the 0.31 or whatever. So pretty good structure here. I think we could probably get back up to the fives if we got anything. I don't really. I mean, there's definitely a lot of. I don't know. I think they actually have like a good model for the usage of their token. To be honest,
Yeah,
um,
absolutely. You saw it with
they
like Dookie Dash, people were buying it left and right.
yeah, I mean, it was insane. Mongrel, who was the top winner or whatever, spent $9,000 on boosts.
Woo!
So, I mean, this is not like this is a extremely. It shows you that it's like there is a niche group of people who will spend an astronomical amount. Like that's like it's like the whole like Fortnite business model too, right?
Yep, yep.
Like it's the really engaged and really they make up like 90% of the entire revenue stream. And then I'm sorry, yeah, like 10% of the people make up like 90% of the entire revenue stream, right? So um because they spend like a ton of money on skins or a ton of money on other things. Whereas like the casual player doesn't really care or doesn't really do it. It's not geared towards them, and that's why it's a free game because they get more people. But essentially, it's a similar idea with this. There is that small amount of people who will pay absorbent amount of money to be competitive or be in that. I think it actually has more use case and stuff like Fortnite and stuff like that because it gets you a that was the skill based mint. It got you. I mean, he literally made his $9,000 investment got him. Well, he bought. I think he bought an ape
Million?
too, right? So he bought a so we bought like let's say he bought a $60,000-$70,000 ape. Spent 8,000, so he spent like 78,000 to then make probably what was it 1
No,
point
990, I think.
yeah it was
ETH.
990 ETH.
Yeah.
Which what I mean if he kept it, what's the calculator on that one? I mean a lot of money. So
Yeah, I think it was close to a million.
yeah. Definitely. So but if he kept it in ETH, well, I mean it's at 1,700. That was at like a $1,200 ETH times 990. I mean that's 1.7 million now. So
GG's.
GG baby, 70 to 2 million in like
A couple weeks
yeah 4 weeks or some shit. It was more than all of his earnings.
prior.
Yeah, exactly. Like he is a huge esports guy. Was like one of the top Fortnite players. And again, like even that alone is massive money. They were the tournament would net him like 30,000-40,000. Wins were like 100,000. I think he's like 18 or 19. So
Yeah, he's pretty young.
not a huge career yet, but yeah, again, like now it's 1-2 week game versus like probably 3 or 4 years of professional playing netted him. I think it was pretty much if he did keep it in ETH, it's
With
probably
sponsors and everything
yeah,
else too.
exactly. Like it's definitely shows you the power um of the content creation aspect that Yuga's definitely going. They're I think they're gonna go into that like Twitch type model where they're gonna have like games and little mini games and competing things, and it's all gonna be structured to have like this economy built at the center of it, but it's all going to be based on attention and views and stuff like that. And you can see that they set up their games that way. So I think it's really impressive.
Yeah, well, I think that's kind of a good place to end it.
Yep.
We'll touch back on that liquidity next week and see what
Yep.
else is going on in the market by that time.
Yeah, baby.
If you want to close it out with your special,
Let's do it.
we'll see you next week,
Where's
guys.
the graphics here, Bam?
Yeah.
We still need to make one for Subscribe. All right.
Later,
NRN,
guys.
come in Discord, check it out. Ask me some shitcoins if you want me to trade chart for you. Check out Risky Trades over in the Ninja Alert Discord if you want to find out some really helpful tools on NFTs. And we'll see you guys next week.
Peace.